Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to tackle something that really truly changed the game for India's economy, the goods and services tax, GST. It was pitched as a total revolution, so let's break down what it is and, more importantly, why it was so desperately needed.
I mean, think about it. Before July 2017, the tax system in India, it really was a maze. And it wasn't just confusing for you and me. It was this incredibly complex web for businesses that created a really unique and expensive problem.
All right, so let's dig into what that problem really was. It all boiled down to this one super frustrating concept that made pretty much everything you bought way more expensive than it should have been. The heart of the issue was this thing called the cascading effect. Okay, so picture this. You're making something, right? You pay a tax on your raw materials. Then, when you go to sell your final product, the next tax isn't just on the value of your product, it's calculated on the value plus the tax you already paid. So what's happening? You're literally paying tax on the tax you already paid. It's wild, and it just kept inflating the price every single step of the way. And look, this wasn't just about one or two annoying taxes. It was this massive pileup of different taxes from both the central and the state governments. Every single one of these had its own set of rules, its own forms to fill out. It was a complete nightmare, especially if you were trying to do business across state lines. So you've got this massive tangled mess. How on earth do you fix it? Well, the solution was pretty radical. You don't just patch it up. You tear the whole thing down and start fresh with a single, clear path. And that's where the goods and services tax, or GST, comes in. It was designed from the ground up to be one single, unified tax on everything. Now, a couple of words here are super important. Comprehensive, meaning it covers just about everything, and destination-based. That's a big one. It means the tax money goes to the state where the stuff is actually bought, not where it was made.
So the big idea was just beautifully simple, really. Take that whole messy pile of taxes and replace it all with just one. That's it. One system for one nation.
Okay, but an idea that's simple is, well, it's never actually simple to pull off, right? You can't just snap your fingers and change the entire tax system. It meant they had to go right to the core and rewrite the country's financial rulebook, the Constitution itself. And the key that unlocked this whole thing? It was the 101st Constitutional Amendment Act back in 2016. This was the piece of paper that gave both the central government and all the states the green light to work together on one single tax system. And the way they did it was actually pretty smart, laid out in 3 logical steps. First, they had to add a new article to the Constitution, Article 246A, which basically gave both the central government and the states the power to make laws about GST. Second, they created the GST Council. Think of it like a big round table where the center and all the states could make decisions together. And finally, they laid out the rules for any sales that happened between states, making sure everyone knew how that money would be collected and shared. Okay, so the new rulebook is written, the legal stuff is done, but how does this thing actually work in the real world? When you look under the hood, the mechanics are actually pretty cool. What India uses is called a dual model, and it's a clever way to handle things. Here's how it breaks down. If you buy and sell something inside the same state, the tax gets split right down the middle. Part of it, the CGST, goes to the central government, and the other part, the SGST, goes to the state government. Simple enough. But what if the sale crosses a state line? Then they charge one single tax, the IGST. The center collects it and then makes sure the money gets to the state where the product ended up. All right, now we get to the absolute heart of GST, the real magic trick. It's a concept called input tax credit, or ITC. This is the thing that finally kills that whole tax-on-tax problem we talked about. In simple terms, if you're a business and you pay GST on your supplies, you get that money back as a credit. You can then use that credit to pay the tax when you sell your final product. And right there, that's the payoff. That's the whole point. Because of ITC, tax is only paid on the actual value you add at your step in the process. It's the mechanism that completely, totally fixes that cascading effect we started with. So yeah, fixing that tax-on-tax problem was a huge technical win. But the ripple effects, the real-world impact of this shift, well, they're much, much bigger. We're talking benefits for pretty much everyone in the economy. So when you step back and look at the whole picture, the benefits really start to stack up. First, you kill that cascading effect. Done.
Second, you get one single uniform tax market across the entire country, which makes it so much easier to do business. The whole online system also means more people are paying their taxes, which is good for everyone. And as a really nice bonus, it makes Indian exports more competitive on the world stage because they're essentially tax-free.
So at the end of the day, GST was without a doubt a massive, massive reform. It took decades of tangled tax laws and smoothed them out. But it does leave us with one last question to chew on. While it unified so much, some really big things, like petroleum, are still outside of the GST net. And that makes you ask, is the one nation, one tax journey really truly finished?